I care more about the legacy of our team. You know, we put in so much work and worked so hard that I want to be remembered for the team that we are and a team that we built here in Kansas City. And so I never really think about my legacy, but I think about all the guys that I've played with and how they've kind of made their imprint on this team, and I want us to be remembered for that.
Our quarterback here with us now, MVP, Cam, in the building. How we feeling?
What's goody? How we doing?
We're good. We're actually not in the building. We're outside.
The
but,
tempo
hey,
set.
you know
like
what it is.
Eminem came with the
She
energy.
always brings the energy.
Obviously,
yeah.
Stephen A. All that.
she's always good vibes. Let's get into it. Shannon, what will this Super Bowl come down to?
It always comes down to turnovers. I mean, and then I know it's cliches, but you look at the playoffs, the way they shaped up, one turnoff normally dictates. You look at the Washington Commanders, they don't turn the ball over, and then they turn it over a bunch of times, and they end up losing the ball game. The thing is that Patrick Mahomes, can you force him into multiple turnovers? Jalen Hurts played the last time this team played. Jalen Hurts played the best game of his entire career since he's been in the NFL. It was that one turnover that flipped the momentum and allowed KC to get back into this ball game. And then they got their momentum in the second half. They went touchdown, field goal, and they ended up winning the game. And if that happens again, that's what's going to happen. But if you don't turn the ball over, I like Saquon because the Eagles are very unique in this perspective, guys. They want to be explosive in the run game and efficient in the pass game. But most teams are flipped. They want to be explosive in the pass game, efficient in the run game. But not when you got 2-6 in your backfield. He's a guy that can hit his head on the goalpost from any area on the field. Now all we're asking Jalen Hurts to do, don't turn it over. We're going to give you a short pass because you're throwing against man coverage. You're not stopping Saquon with 7 in the box. At least no one else has. Now, I know Spags is going to try because you don't want to play a whole lot of man coverage because if the guys run past Jalen Hurts, he can take off and run. But whoever takes care of the football the best, whomever tackles the best, that's going to win because when you arrive at Saquon, you got to get him on the ground. And we saw when you don't get him on the ground, he's going the distance.
Well, it comes down to the Philadelphia offense starring Saquon Barkley and the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Now,
starring Spags.
Yeah, true story.
Because one thing that you did mention, it came down to a turnover, but if you put a microscope to what you're really saying, is ball control.
Yes.
Who gives you that opportunity to control the game with ball control? Saquon Barkley. If they can have Saquon manage to impact this game in running the football when they want to and running the football when they need to, that's all the difference. We're not even having to put the ball. You said something extremely impactful. Running the ball for explosive plays and throwing the ball for efficiency. That is an overlooked trait that the Philadelphia Eagles' formula for winning has always been that. Mm-hmm. And what Saquon can do for you is that, and they can play their type of game.
This is the best run defense that Kansas City has had in the Steve Spagnuolo era. So you have to take that into consideration because if you're going to stack the line of scrimmage like a lot of teams have tried to do against Saquon Barkley this year, Saquon Barkley's had about six times he's rushed for over 50, had a
60-yard run.
50-plus, 60-plus yard run. That's the most by anybody this season, of course, but it's the second most, next to Adrian Peterson in 2012, if I remember correctly. So you think about all of that. You stack the line of scrimmage. He penetrates that first line of defense. It's lights out. He's going to the house. They know that. It's going to be real interesting to see how Kansas City plays them. Here's my only question, fellas. Being a run-dominated offense, like you said, explosive in the run, efficient in the passing game, is that enough to beat Patrick Mahomes?
Yes.
To me, I think it is. But only because it keeps Patrick Mahomes on the sideline.
That's why.
If you're able to run the football effectively. But they got to run the football effectively because if you don't, then Patrick Mahomes is going to get his bites at the apple, and that's lights out.
If you remember when they played them last time, Philly did not snap the ball unless it was under 5 seconds. Because I want to minimize Patrick Mahomes because we know he don't need the ball long in order to make something happen.
Right.
And every time it was 5 seconds, the ball got off, the ball got off, the ball got off. And so I'm minimizing Patrick Mahomes because, look, the likelihood of you completely shutting him down, you're going to make your plays. You might get him a 3-and-out a couple of times, but eventually he and Andy Reid are going to figure you out. And those guys are going to start to make plays. And the question is, have you built up enough of a lead in order to make Patrick?
Let me throw this to y'all. Isn't it time? Like, if you're going up against the Eagles defense that's good, I get you. But we've been talking about how they're the #1 defense, #2 scoring defense, top 3 in third downs and red zones and all of this stuff, right? At some point in time, is there some defense out there that you can look at and say, yo, we can contain Patrick Mahomes at least? Is that possible?
Well, they have the defense to do it because they can get pressure on him with his front four. Jalen Carter's going to be key. Now, the left guard is concerning to me because they bumped Tooney out to left tackle. But I'm not going to be surprised if he's in the game and he plays 40 plays, 30 of them are going to be lined up over that left guard because he feels that's the weak link. He feels he can take advantage of him. He's their best defensive player. I know Braun is an all-pro, so is Carter, and he had an unbelievable season. But Jalen Carter is where it starts and stops because he's the guy that you must account for. He has the ability to be Reggie White. He has that kind of ability. He can dominate a game.
When you talk about the dominance of the Kansas City Chiefs teams, I think the thing that oftentimes is overlooked or even not even mentioned is we've seen this happen with the Peyton Mannings. We've seen this happen with Tom Brady. We've seen this happen versus great quarterbacks. It's not just offense versus offense or offense versus defense or defense versus offense. It's all three phases of football impacting this game. What do I mean? The offense has to do the job. Okay, ball control from the Philadelphia offense. Defense has to do their job. Get off the field
on third down
yesterday. And 3, it comes down to special teams. Okay, can we pin this team back so they go 80 yards, 90 yards, 95 yards to score? We cannot give this team an opportunity with great field position, a la a turnover, because they're going to cash in.
And that scares me because the Eagles have forced 10 turnovers this postseason, hasn't committed a single one. That level of perfection. This is the one game where most pundits are going to say you're required to emulate that kind of performance. Now, what you did before, you could have got away with beating Washington. You could have got away with beating Green Bay or L.A. if you committed a turnover, whatever. You ain't going to pull that off against Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes.
Right, correct.
And obviously that might make people tight.
The commander was right there. When they started turning the football over, because if you remember, that game was like within a field goal. Right. Now, the likelihood of Patrick Mahomes, they've got 1 turnover in 9 games. They've turned the ball over 1 time in 9 games. It's hard to beat Patrick Mahomes if you do not coax a possession, if you do not steal a possession or 2 from him.
Last thing for me is really, when you're talking about football one-on-one and how to stop the run game, you have to bring an extra defender in the box, a la 7-man box, right? This allows the Philadelphia Eagles to do exactly what they want to do, the RPO, short game, efficient pass game, and now it comes down to a McDuffie, A.J. Brown kind of matchup, right? Now, controlling the line of scrimmage with RPOs, bubble screens, now screens, whatever you want to call it or however you want to attack it, that's where Jalen Hurts is at its finest because now it's clear. It's clear. It's a 1 read, it's a 2 read from 2 different sides of the field, and I already know I'm dictating to the defense what it's going to be, and that's really what it comes down to.